Well, you're here with us on the Why Not podcast yet again, and you're here with us again also. So let's go ahead. We'll introduce our cast of characters and then launch on our discussion about mill-to-mill marriages. So who we got here?
I am Tech Sergeant Ryan Holzaffel, and I work in public affairs.
And I am Master Sergeant Cassandra Woodard, and I work in the wing admin office.
And you know me, I'm Staff Sergeant Brenda Miller, also public affairs, also married to Tech Sergeant Holzaffel.
What? Impossible.
This is awesome.
You know, like marriage is this thing that's already difficult to navigate. It's a relationship that means something different to, you know, whoever is in it, but it is something that requires a lot of sacrifice and communication. And why don't we just make it more difficult and
Throw uniforms on.
yeah, throw uniforms on it. Get married to somebody who's got this other difficult military persona that
Right. It's already hard enough when it's one military member and then a spouse, but then if it's both spouses are military, I think that adds a little extra spice. I'm not saying it makes it harder, it just makes it a little spicier, I feel like.
I like that word.
Yeah.
Spicier. That's a way
Spicier.
to put it. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that we could obviously start in a lot of different ways, but how did you meet your spouse, Master Sergeant Woodard? Like, did you meet them in the service?
Do you want like a time and place or?
Yeah, what happened?
No, because well, technically, I met him at a country dance hall at Wichita Falls, Shepherd Air Force Base. So he was an instructor for CE. So my spouse has about 6.5 years on me as far as like time and service. And I was a first-term airman. So Shepherd being a tech school base, me dating a staff sergeant that looked awesome, by the way. We definitely got plenty of questions. But it wasn't in my chain of command, so we won't go there. But I met him out at one of the clubs in Wichita Falls, which is ironic because he does not like country music. So the fact that I met him at a country club
Yeah.
Yeah.
means it was fate.
Right.
We were just meant to be together, apparently, but that is how we met.
The Air Force wanted it to happen.
It wanted to happen. Yeah.
Thanks, Air Force.
We met at Cannon Air Force Base. How did we get to Cannon Air Force Base and then to Minot? That's just how
You
it
were
worked out.
fortunate.
Yeah.
The Air Force looking out. But we met at Cannon Air Force Base. We were both first-term airmen in public affairs. He was about 6 months ahead of me for time and service, so not too far ahead. And we were just dating. And then I don't know what I thought. I thought we had so much extra time. I was like, this is just normal. Like, we're just, dating. It's casual. And then he actually got orders to Osan. And that's when I went into our studio, our PA studio, and I cried. I was like, oh my God, it's more serious than I realized.
And I was like, yeah.
He was so excited to go to Korea, and I was like, it's
you
fine. I'm just over here. It's okay.
Yeah.
And then he got a follow-on to Yokota. It was like a week or two later, and his orders got canceled.
Yeah.
His orders and his follow-on got canceled. And then I was like, well, I'll just update to Korea. He's going to keep Korea on. I'll update to Korea, if we go to different places. And we both, like 3 months later, got orders to Camp Humphreys at AFN, both of us separate.
Oh.
So then we got married before we went to Korea, but the Air Force kind of willed it because we went to Korea on separate orders. We did not get married. We did, but we weren't on joint orders in Korea. So we had to live in
Yeah.
dorms.
Interesting. I like that because like we are that statistic because we got married so that we could PCS together. He was an instructor, so his 4 years was coming up. And I'm a first-term airman, so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah,
So it was like one of those things. It was like, well, I guess we better do this.
right. That's what
Yeah.
we did too, because even though we were going to Korea, we also did it for the follow-on.
Yeah.
So we both still ended up going to Yokota, and he went to AFN and I went to PA there, but yeah, over here and over there.
Yeah.
But still, it's exactly how that kind of works.
And now you
with
know the
nice
story.
things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the story, but also like sometimes mill-to-mill marriages happen on a different timeline. I feel like because you have things that you have to kind of work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
like I felt like was normal and just casual. I'm like, there's no such thing as casual. I feel like
No.
Yeah.
No,
you
it's
can't
like,
just let time tell. Like it'll be like, oh, we have so much time.
you really don't.
You don't.
And he was like, hopefully we like each other enough.
That's what our thing was like, this is where I think it's going, so we'll
Yeah.
just do it sooner, and it's worked out. I mean, 3 kids later, here we are. We're fine.
Yeah. You guys look happy.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
have
tired
husband
too.
word of
It's
approval.
working.
Yeah. So obviously there's, it's fun to be able to work with your spouse. It's also challenging because you work with your spouse. I put that in quotes because
Yeah, I was gonna say
You-
for some
for some we get to work together.
directly.
Yeah, directly. Uh, She's not in my chain of command.
That's
Guys. It's
awesome.
fine. But yeah, I mean, different schedules. That can be so difficult. I was gonna, make this part about separations, but like that's a even time that you're together where you're at the same base. You're gonna be on different schedules and your units are gonna be doing different things. How do you navigate that?
Well, when we left Shepherd, we weren't stationed at the same base. He went to the White House and I went to Fort Meade.
Oh, okay.
Shout
Oh.
out to PA Tech School, but I was on the NSA side.
Ah.
And he was doing shift work, so he was 3 months on days, 3 months on nights.
Yeah.
And so that was fun for at least the first 2 years. So if you're not on the same base and you're definitely not on the same schedule, and then you can't talk about what it is you do at work.
Right.
Oh man, yeah.
So then you go home and you're like, well, that was fun. I think I derailed from your question, but managing
Yeah. I mean,
different.
Schedules, yeah.
Then we PCS together to the next base, and it was a smaller organization, so we were together. Everybody knew that we were married. Everybody knew one another.
Right.
So that became kind of easier to navigate. Initially, he was on shifts again, and then it fell off. And then we came here to Minot together. Minot's also a relatively small base, and so I feel like once you've been here long enough, people know you're married to so and so. And
Yeah.
I mean, it helps to have the same last name, and
right.
I like it. Girl power, keeping that
Oh, yeah, we
original
all-
last
I
name.
went to Korea so fast. I was like, I'm not paying for a new passport, and then it just kind
Yeah.
of like stayed.
No, that's fair.
People think we're so like oh, you're progressive and modern. It's like
convenient, and now I'm like,
No,
it's too far away.
we're
With 3
lazy.
kids. Yeah.
I get that, but as far as did I derail from your question?
no, you're
What was I answering?
you were originally, on different schedules.
Yeah.
Was that hard? Like, what was that like?
Well, so when I married him, he had 2 kids. My stepson, who was the oldest, and his mother unfortunately passed away when he was a baby, and so I'm ultimately the only mom that he knows. And so when we moved to the DC area, him being on shift meant that I worked my regular shift because I was a Monday through Friday, normal 7:30 to 16:30. And then I went home and I took care of Jake, that our son, which meant that like if Josh was on nights, then it was like completely on me.
Yeah.
I would high five him when I was going to work and he was going to bed, and he would high five me when he was going to work and I was coming home.
Wow.
And sometimes we'd miss each other depending on his shift, but it was up to me to get, Jacob to and from like before and after school care,
Yeah.
and then to feed him, especially like when Josh was on nights. And then when Josh switched to days, it became a little bit easier, but he was still, I think it was like 3 days on, 3 days off type.
Mhm.
So even then, depending on the days, he would be working on our weekends, and then it would just be me and Jake. So that was a lot harder for me, mostly because I became a stepmom. So it's not the same as being regular mom. So not only am I trying to earn my spot in this little young man's life,
Mm.
I'm also like his sole caretaker sometimes.
Right.
Right. I've been to like 2 different roles.
That's
Like I'm a married life, and I'm also stepping into being a parent.
Yes.
Like brand new. Yes.
Yeah.
I have a stepmom who's been in my life longer than I've been alive, and she's amazing. Like she's my kid's grandma, all that stuff. But gosh, it is not easy. Mixed
No.
families are hard.
No, so that added kind of a layer to that. Like now, that son is now also in the Air Force. So like fast forward all these years, and so definitely worth it. But during that time was tough, mostly like what you said, because you're going into 2 roles. Like I'm a new wife, and we're in a new place.
Well, also you're a new
And-
airman. Kind of in a way.
Yeah,
A few years.
I was still a senior airman, making a lot of money in the DC area, I will say. But
noted.
yeah,
Good looking out.
yeah, that was great. So yeah, there were some difficulties in that.
Yeah. And like maybe civilians are listening. Obviously, you're gonna have dual income situations where you're on different schedules. It's similar, but the added layer is that like we experienced this where I went TDY for an extended period of time, over 40 days, and then a month and a half later I deployed
Mhm.
for 6 months.
Lord, yeah,
So-
that was an interesting scenario too, because they sat us down and they were like, all right, they said us, sorry, me and another tech sergeant down there, like one of you needs to deploy. And I was like, I will deploy. I was like, let's do this. And so that was like right before we were about to go on a 2-week long leave trip. And so we left and we came back, and you had already been scheduled to go on a 6-week bomber task force mission, BTFs for Minot. People are very familiar. But when we came back, you were getting ready to go to Guam. And then right before then, they were like, also, it's switched. They don't need a tech sergeant, they need a staff sergeant. we only have one. Sergeant Miller. So after we got back from Guam, we had
Yeah.
a month and a half to go deploy for 6 months. And that's just part of it, is ebbing and flowing. And that was really difficult. I wasn't ready for that, because it's like we went from a scenario where we were in Japan. Neither of us were going anywhere at that time. We just had 2 babies. So we were pretty stationary because of like my waiver. And then he worked at a detachment. And then, of course, we got to Minot, and it was like, oh, no, you're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Which is normal, not just it's not a Minot thing. It's just what's an Air Force thing.
Yeah.
You're going to be due to deploy eventually. And if you come back from overseas, that's when they catch you and they send you out into the world.
That's for sure. Yeah, we were fortunate enough for in the DC, he was another four-year control for him. And so non-deployable. I was technically deployable, but NSA doesn't really deploy my career field that much.
They do. It's usually not airmen.
Yeah.
That's how PA is. If you
They
do
wanted-
deploy, you're usually not airmen.
Yeah, for sure. And then when we moved to the Vegas area, another 4-year control, so non-deployable. So and again, fortunate enough to kind of have that stability, like shift work aside. None of us were going anywhere outside of this area, which was nice. And then of course, we knew that Josh was going to deploy pretty much as soon as we got to Minot. So we had about 5 months of prep, and then he was out the door from like January to June, and then the Afrigen cycle kicked in,
Yeah.
and then I dipped out 3 months later in October. So like high-fived each other and back-to-back deployments. So having gone so long, being fortunate enough to not go, and then Minot was like, "Yeah, you're going, both of you."
But really, like, a big shout out to spouses though who like get a like don't alternate, who are just like who are just civilians, because then it's just like I couldn't imagine like my husband or wife going away for 6 months, and then like I've been taking care of 6 months for the kids, and then like I'm gonna continue being the caregiver, because I really enjoyed the fact that you came back from your deployment, and then like it was now my turn like to go TDY, and like now I can like enjoy, like I kind of like the switch, the little bit of the break. So I know it sounds
Yeah.
weird, but I
Yeah, we still got to get you some other places too, like on a few BTFs or whatnot. But
yeah, the time will come. The
Time
time
will
will come.
Well,
I just got out of NCOA, and then I'm like, no, we have these 3 kids. We added a third when you were deployed. I cooked one in the oven, and now we're done. No more. But
no
good
more.
God,
Yeah, I mean,
past weekend really was like not awful. Like kids are wonderful and beautiful, but man, when you have to take care of your house and like do yard work, and then also don't forget to clean the bathroom, and then also somebody needs their pants changed, it's like good.
yeah, regular Memorial Day weekend type of stuff. But it's not when you have small children. It's like a whole different ball.
Talking about
Oh, yeah.
barbecuing, I'm like, when am I could never barbecue with like little kids around. I'm like, I can't imagine things you don't think you have to
Yeah.
say, but you do have to say.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, so obviously separations kind of difficult. People are going to encounter them, whether it's mill to mill or mill to civilian. They're going to happen. But
It's helpful though. Sorry to cut you off, but I think it's helpful though, because like when you're on TDY or deployed, extended, whatever, it's kind of nice because there's an understanding there. I feel like with your spouse, obviously you still make time to make those phone calls, FaceTimes, phone calls, texts. Hey, I'm going to do this thing. Obviously you keep communication up, but I think there's a more understanding of like, hey, I'm going to stay late when I was at NCOA. Hey, I'm going to stay late at the schoolhouse. Hey, I'm going to go to dinner with a couple of people from class. Like there's a more understanding there. And I feel like maybe on the non-military side, it can be easier to be like, why not make time for me? How? Like go to dinner with classmates at NCOA. Like, how could you? Like, I'm here by myself. And that's difficult. But in order to like accommodate those things, I think you understand it more on the military side, because you've lived those situations and those relationships are important. Staying late is part of the deal. And I think that helps a lot, is that understanding. And then also like, I don't have to break down acronyms. That's also really
That's true.
yeah,
We can have full-on conversations. with just
you're saying-
acronyms.
Like,
you're like different
awful.
career fields, but you can say them because
Yeah, I
everybody
know
knows
exactly what
those.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to read in your spouse if they're not in the military, and you have to help them understand it so that they gain that sense of purpose with you. And
Yeah.
it does, the mill to mill, it's a shortcut to get to that state, but still, yeah, it's something that all of us have to remember. So just tell your spouse what the mission is, and so they can understand it too.
In the easiest way possible. I will say for me personally, like I wouldn't want it any other way. Like going along this ride with him,
Mhm.
like I wouldn't want it any other way. Like we get to go on this together, and granted, he's 6 years ahead of me. He's a chief now, so like our dynamics and our careers look a little bit different, especially the higher ranking you get. But like I can go home at the end of the day and I can just spill my guts out on anything that has happened in the day, and he'll be like, "Yeah, I get that. I've been there." But we get just do what husbands do and like
I agree though.
comfort you.
Yeah, it's so nice because there's just an automatic understanding. You're not breaking anything down. You don't have to give backstory. Like it'll be weird because my parents, like even my dad is, well, now he's retired, but he was in the army for 20 plus years and then he's a GS. And even I can use some acronyms, but I'm still giving him backstory on stuff. And I'm like, you just asked me a question. And of course, here I am down the whole path. I'm like, what am I even doing? And then he'll be like, great. So the kids. I'm so glad we chatted about me. Love you too.
I felt that way about my dad too, because I had to give like a whole
You wanna be
foundation.
in it, but you don't want to be in it. Don't pretend.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about benefits because I mean, obviously there are challenges, but there's benefits.
Build a
and-
millionaire. No,
A
I'm kidding.
mil-
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
That is not a
Uh,
No, it is
don't
definitely
lie to
not.
them.
It is
No, we don't
definitely
wanna-
not. No.
Thanks for starting that rumor. So
Somebody said that to me. and I was
Everybody's
like,
getting
really?
married.
I was like, I'm not hearing that. If I'm like maybe like chief to chief, maybe.
yeah, the benefits I'm talking about are literally the benefits we receive as military members.
Right.
And now we've got another military member who's also receiving those benefits. So what is that? I know that there's a few different things that happen, like housing wise, living off base versus on base. Some folks talk about, their BAH. They're like, oh, if I live on base, I don't have that robust BAH, but if I live off base, I do.
The robust BAH, it's a rumor, I feel like, because I make BAH for dependents. This part is just, anybody could look up this reg, is we both make BAH. I make BAH with dependents at a tech sergeant rank. But the thing is that BAH doesn't always match the market or like like your finance rating or so like these things are off. So you also getting BAH helps offset those costs. So it's one of those things where it's like I don't necessarily, and some people have to live off base. So in my mind too, it's like kind of giving you gas back too, because like can't have everyone live on base. That's just that's just how it is. Like not everybody can. Nobody asks us to live off base, but we do. And so it's like one of those things where it's like we're kind of helping out. Therefore, that kind of also helps that situation and drive to work every day, 20 to 30 minutes. So, but one of the benefits I see the most of is like leadership is, especially if you're in separate units, I would imagine, obviously we have the same, our officer, our chief, he is very accommodating. He understands the situation. If one kid is sick, who's going to be out? Like we usually usually go off workload. Like who can take the day off? What can we do? And that is very helpful. Our kids don't have school this day. It was like Friday before Easter. It's not a normal holiday, but it was for our daycare. So we took it. One of us had to take off. It was just very understanding. I feel like that's where it comes, especially in separate units.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of as it sits right now, like the week after Memorial Day weekend. So for Minot Public Schools, their schools just ended on Thursday. We have a 7-year-old that just finished first grade. I'm trying to cry about that. Time flies really fast. And so there's a week before the Minot Public Schools starts summer care for kids. So this week we don't have any care for our child.
Yeah.
And so luckily we had Monday off and Friday off. So we had a good buffer there. But right now my husband took today and tomorrow off so that he could be with her.
Right.
And then I will take Thursday and Friday off to be with her. So we have to kind of split that. But I will, if we want to add kind of like the flip side to that, you make it sound all nice and fluffy and it's always easy to do this, but then there becomes that conversation on those times where like we both have a lot going on at work.
Those are the worst.
And then it becomes the like,
Who's more important?
who's more, I would hate to
Yeah.
put it that way, but
But it feels that way, right?
is whose mission is more important right now. Like I've got stuff I got to do. And just because, I work in a wing admin office and CE, runs the base. I take that back. I take that back to anybody who's not CE. I'm sorry. But they also have things they've got to go. And, my husband is the squadron SEL. So I can only imagine, what is piling up on his list. So there are times, especially the higher ranking you get and the more responsibility you get, that conversation gets harder and harder to have of, okay, who can afford to take off right now?
Agreed, especially because like we were talking, when you have kids, like your day off is like going to the office. Like this 3-day weekend, awesome, great, love kids, our house, we've got everything done. Going to work is like I can go to the bathroom alone, like I can get in the car, we can drive to the commissary, I don't have to worry about anybody being washed. So it's like when one of us has to stay home, that can feel difficult because you're like, man, I really want, especially after a weekend, man, I really want to go to work, but
Yeah.
like
Can't wait to go to work.
I can't wait. And like last Thursday that happened right before the 4-day weekend is our son at 4 a.m. threw up in his bed. And like, so I moved him over and like got everything cleaned up. And I texted him at 4 a.m. and I was like, hey, like you can go to work tomorrow, but like heads up, like I might not wake up with the other two and with you because he's probably going to throw up again.
Mhm.
So I was like, just a heads up because we slept in the guest room and that's just how it goes. So I missed 5 days of work. And it's like, you have to commit to that. And you're like, I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah. Challenging. Like that was the benefits section. So you make it sound
I
like
know,
it's
we definitely
just more challenges.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
highlight this. Yeah, you have to say
that's
it
kind of
too.
the reality.
I mean,
of
yeah,
it.
there are benefits, but like there's always a cost, right? It's never like this clean break of like, oh, we have dual income. There are lots of people that are dual income. That's just a reality of our economy right now. Is that more and more people are working, and you kind of just have no
You can't
choice.
really afford to live off of one person.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that. I wouldn't say personally that my benefits of being a mill to mill are any greater or better than those that aren't mill to mill.
Agreed. Yeah.
Mostly because like the way we live our lives compensate for that, if that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
people always assume that mill to mill would make a bunch of money. And I'm like, I don't know where you heard that from, but like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we are comfortable. And if you compare us to like your day-to-day people, sure, we are comfortable.
Yeah, we're doing well.
All of
Yeah.
our bills are paid. I can get my daughter pretty much anything she needs, well, everything she needs and most of what she wants, depending
Yeah, I was
on
gonna say
Yeah.
everything she wants.
depending. And we can go on vacations and we can do those things, but like we do have to deliberately budget and plan for those things. It's not like, well, let me just throw thousands of dollars on a plane trip somewhere just because I'm mill to mill and I have a butler in my house. I don't. Like I am
Described it. We are the butler.
yeah, I am
Yeah.
all the things. We are all the things.
And the handyman too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom, get me my water. I'm like, it's over on the table.
Yeah, the benefits
Get it
are
for me.
great, but I mean,
Mm.
I just feel like there's more harder conversations that have to happen
Mm-hmm.
in a mill to, well, I'm not going to say harder. I can't compare because I don't know what like
It's
a mill
hard
to
because
civilian
we are
life.
only having a mill conversation. Totally acknowledge that too. That all marriages are difficult. Like, and I'm used to it too because like Brendan's dad was active duty for 33 years, and his mom was a stay-at-home spouse.
Mhm.
So she did childcare. So like obviously their experience is totally different.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of cases for a lot of families. But we're only just speaking to our experience, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
Who's mill
And
to mill?
depending on how your career is going, if you're headed in like a very successful career and you're ranking up and you're getting new positions, then again, that's where those conversations continue to get
Yeah.
harder
Right.
because opportunities will arise and at some point you may risk being apart depending on
Well, it's just like NCOA popped up for me just a few months ago, and I was like, I have to go.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
I
you
have to
have
get
to.
it done. I have to go. It's an opportunity. And I had to leave in like a week and a half. And luckily, he's very accommodating. He was very like, okay, like, how do we make this work? And then we reached out to parents. We have an awesome family who was able to visit and basically be with them. Because again, like 3 kids, I know we like chose this life, but a baby with like 2 older kids is so
Yeah, not
it's, like,
even
quite
that much
difficult.
older. They 2 and 4.
yeah.
That was insane. But let's talk about you kind of already discussed a little bit of it, but getting stationed together doesn't always happen. Sometimes they can get you pretty close.
Mhm.
Like they can do like Lackland and Randolph type of situation, but that's not always in the cards, and you get pulled 2 different directions. You're married, but you're geographical bachelors,
Yeah.
so to
Of
speak.
course, you get separation pay. But I mean, I think that depends on the career fields you're in. I think fortunately for y'all and for me,
Mhm.
there's PA everywhere. And then there's my career field, the administrative career field everywhere. And there's
Yeah.
CE
Right.
everywhere. So depending on the career field, it can be harder because there's some career fields that can only go to like 5 bases. And then if you marry someone who can go everywhere, or maybe not even, then you're kind of restricted to certain areas.
Mhm.
I'd consider myself fortunate personally, just with who the career field my husband is in,
Yeah.
because he was everywhere. I think now that he's in that chief rank, that becomes different.
Mhm.
Because chief assignments work differently. We're getting ready to go to Peterson. I applied for that job.
Yeah.
And so for about 5 months, we had to wait for the chief cycle to work for
Right.
us to guarantee that he would also get to Peterson. Because if
Yeah.
he couldn't, then conversations were going to be
Yeah.
Interesting that we're having this conversation because I actually thought about this is weird, but I thought about you guys on the way to work and how like Peterson is such a great base. And I was like, and how fortunate for them that worked out.
Yeah, good for you guys.
So
Yeah, but you couldn't promise that to everybody.
No,
So I
no.
don't know. Like, I would consider myself
Yeah.
or fortunate. I wouldn't say that those kinds of things are given that you can expect to be
Right.
stationed with your spouse. I
Right.
think you should go into it being realistic because, as we all know, mission comes first. And if there's not a spot for one, you either are going to remove that joint spouse code or you're going to have to start from square one and figure out
Right.
where your joint location is.
So that's kind of like where we're at now is we're at 2.5 years, coming up on 2.5 here at Minot. So like we're due, but also we want to go back overseas, and that can be difficult because there's two of us, and there's NPA and your staff sergeant and I'm a tech sergeant. So it's pretty similar in terms of a lot of times. Sometimes we don't get stationed. They don't want us to be together, not in the bad way, but more like they want to put you in a different unit.
Mhm.
Like at Yokota, we were both there, but you were at AFN, I was at PA, and right now we're trying to go to Korea, but with the full intention of like probably one of us at Osan, one of us at Camp Humphreys, because for those who don't know, it's like 40 minutes distance,
Mm.
and very open to that. And I hope
Yeah,
I don't
totally
expect that we'll both be at the same place again, but we'll see. But yeah, it's hard because we want to go to Korea and hopefully go somewhere else overseas, and you just have to see what happens.
Yeah.
Just roll the dice.
Fingers crossed.
I know. It's like, or we don't go anywhere. And they're like, this is too difficult of a match. It could be harder when you're in the same career field and you're so close. And especially if like one outranks the other, sometimes they kind of like, ooh, anything's difficult. But
Right.
don't worry.
yeah. I mean, we'll see where it goes. That's always needs of the Air Force is the thing that people say all the time. So what does the Air Force need, and what are they going to make happen? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see.
So something that I think is present on everybody's mind is that in situations where whether you have kids or not, maybe when your spouse takes off for a deployment, what sort of support system do you have back home? Because you're still working, we're still working, we just are making all of it work, but who's taking care of the members when these things happen? Like we know, hey, you should go check in on Sergeant So-and-so's spouse is alone. We need to make sure that they're taken care of. But there's this person who is still working, they're a military member, and they're going through that same challenge. What do you do for them?
I mean, typically your unit is tracking that, first of all, you're mill to mill, and second, that one of you is getting ready to deploy. And if it's not you, then they know. Then they just know. Like they know if you've got kids or if it's just you. What kind of support are you looking for? Typically, they'll talk to you. They'll ask you, what is it that you're going to need? And for me personally, it was the first deployment that he left that I went through with him. And I didn't actually know what I needed. I said, I have no idea what I need right now
Right.
because right now, for me personally, it got down to a very, very strict routine Monday through Sunday. Like our days were to a T planned out for the things that I knew I could control,
Right.
which meant meal prepping and like shower time, story time, bedtime, at least during the work week. And I had to leave work by a certain time to pick my daughter up from daycare because it was only on me. Cross your fingers that nothing crazy happens, and then if you're lucky, the week goes smooth.
Yeah. You don't get a
and-
text or a phone call.
Right.
Gotta come pick him up.
And then hopefully, I mean, my dad is super supportive and is always there to help us come in and help, wherever he's needed. He's been in Minot a handful of times already to help us with things. And he came and stayed for about 3 to 4 weeks when Josh was deployed. And by that point, when he came, first of all, kudos to him because it was February in Minot. And
Rough weather.
he's coming from Texas. So he got his first ever blizzard in his entire life. It was glorious. And so by that time, me and my daughter, we had our routine down. She was old enough to kind of go with the flow. She was 5. So kind of self-sufficient, played on her own, and then which gave me time to do dishes or clean up. But by that time we got into our routine. So it was just a matter of fitting him into it. And trying not to shake things up too much.
Right.
Because for me personally, I'm not gonna say I'm a control freak, but when I know it's just on me, I need order. I need to kind of know how my day is gonna go and then adjust as needed. That's how I keep my anxiety level down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all I'm doing is worrying about what could go wrong.
Agreed.
So, which I did spend a lot of the times just anticipating something to happen because it's all on me.
Yep.
If something happens. So I had my dad come. He's the closest family member that we are to. Other Josh's side can't travel very much. Doesn't really have the means to do so. So I had about 3 to 4 weeks of help, and then the rest of it's just the community around you. Hopefully you have some friends, some other mill to mill couples that especially the moms in uniform too, that have kids. So we get together regularly and make sure that we meet so that the moms can sit down and talk about man, this has been a week and I need all the wine.
Yes.
But yeah, that's
No, yeah, I totally agree because for me, it's for us, we're really lucky with a support system. We have 3 sets of grandparents. My parents are divorced, so we got 2 sets, which is actually worked out really great. So we have 3 total, and that's really awesome because they're all very travelable. Like when I was at NCOA, his mom came up for 3.5 weeks, and then my stepmom came up for 3.5 weeks. So like literally he was like only alone for like a day and a half. Like
Yeah.
that's awesome. Like very beneficial. And like when he was deployed, like it was more so a lot of help in the beginning, but then once I got my footing, I was doing really well. But I think as a supervisor, so far I have all airmen, and I think only a couple of them, I think only a couple of them, but only a couple of them are married. So like all of them are single, but moving forward in my career, I think it's really important that I remember that aspect of not everybody has the same support system I do. So when they're experiencing something like a spouse being deployed or they're going away and how do I take care of their spouse, is keeping that in the back of my head, because I'm always like, oh, well, I have it. But you have to remember, I feel like as a supervisor, that to just check in. Like obviously as supervisor, superintendent, senior enlisted leader, like those are things you have to keep in the back of your head of, just because it's easy for you or you had that system, just keep in mind somebody else may need something a little extra. And some of the times that just comes in the form of understanding. Like when you were deployed, I didn't need anybody to like watch the kids or anything like that, like from our unit, but I had a very understanding supervisor who understood, like, when I get the call, I got to go, my daughter's sick, my son is sick. I didn't have a third baby at the time. I'm sick because I was pregnant. So it's like lots of doctor's appointments, just that understanding. Sometimes that's how that form of support comes in too. Just, just have that readiness of, what do I need to do for this person if they're different than I am? So that's something this little thing.
Yeah, I think that there's, if you continue on in your career for a long time, you're mill to mill for a long time, remembering that there are going to be people who are in that situation that are going to need that guidance. And I mean, don't tell them like, yeah, I understand. Just let them know, hey, I'm here for you if you need anything. And it is hard. Just acknowledging the difficulties that come with it.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of like not mill to mill, I'm not, but just speaking of support systems.
Yeah. So speaking of, going on a long time in your career, how do you balance, we talked about this a little bit too, of how do you balance like career goals and wanting to get to maybe 20 years or beyond and taking turns, because both people need to do certain things in their career to propel themselves forward, but how do you have that discussion?
I love this topic. I'm gonna try my hardest not to get like on a pedestal about this, but like as a self-proclaimed feminist, right? I'm like, I've got in my head, so I've met him after we were already both in, so we didn't like join, we didn't know each other prior, right? So ideally we each had our own careers and we met each other, and then those careers ideally became one, but they're still wholly and completely separate, especially with the time difference in he's like 6 years ahead of me and he's already succeeding in areas I haven't even gotten to yet. So there's definitely, there's going to be, you need to communicate first of all. So like I don't even know how to explain this, but like when you're a brand new airman, and maybe you can attest, I don't know if anybody can see you, but I can see you.
Our producer, A1 Sipadia, listening
so
intently.
As an airman, those goals aren't as clear. Like you're fresh in and you're just trying to figure this Air Force life out.
Separate enlisting,
all of those things. And so you don't even, maybe you aren't even aware of all that your career can take you yet. Whereas like my husband did. Like it was already clicking for him. He's a brand new tech sergeant. He's taught, he's deployed 3 times. Like he's done the things, and I'm still trying to figure that out. So when I met him, I was like, only 2 and 6 years and I'm out, And I feel like that's a lot of airmen's mentality, unless, you've always wanted to be in the Air Force for your entire life. But so it took kind of like whereas his goals were more clear and the more stripes he was earning, that like master, senior, and chief becoming more of a reality for him. Whereas for me, I was like, I couldn't fathom even making it to tech sergeant. Like sitting here in this rank is still kind of unbelievable to me. But those moments where it does start to click and you're like, I'm actually good at this. I'm actually doing really well. But if you're both doing really well, kind of like I alluded to earlier, then it becomes more difficult to start navigating. Not that those that aren't like super excelling, that it's not difficult, but there are opportunities that are going to arise and you're going to have to be clear about the things that you're wanting. and then realize that your partner still has their own goals as well. So how do you find that middle ground? Well, for me, it's like I just don't, because I'm the lower ranking, I don't want to get left behind or
Right.
forgotten. I don't want my career to not matter because he's already in the fast track to wherever he's headed, right? I mean, lucky for me, he's a chief, so he doesn't have to earn any more stripes. So really now it is
It's your
all
turn.
about my turn, kind of, in a way, but it wasn't always that way. And so there were hard conversations. There were definitely plenty of fights where it was just like, I definitely feel like I got set on the back burner for
Right.
this, and I'm not comfortable with that. And so depending on your dynamic with your spouse, what that looks like, those conversations get really hard and really uncomfortable because
Yeah.
then you start to question, well, is this right? Is this going to work? Marriage is hard, like you alluded to, just
Yeah.
in general, marriage is hard and communication is always key. I just feel like mill to mill, you need to overly communicate.
Mm.
Because, and it's easy because you both know the lingo, you both kind of know the why behind it of why
Yeah.
you're being shoved in this certain scenario because someone's trying to set you up for something. But you've definitely got to try to find that balance. Some days there were times where his career was definitely priority.
Mhm.
Mainly those times where he was working shift work from days to nights, and I was just trying to get through the day of a work week, and then you shift, and then maybe he earns a stripe and he's in that period where he's not
Mhm.
promotion eligible, so you can
Mm.
kind of chill,
Oh yeah.
but you really shouldn't.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's never, yeah, never a period. Gosh, I
Never
just
a
I just
period.
learned that. Yes.
But there is comfort in knowing when you have that line number, and then that first year after, you're like, I'm not promotion eligible, so I'm not waiting for my name on a list. There's goodness in that, but then I would take kind of,
Right.
but you have to be deliberate about that. Those things
course.
don't just naturally flow. You really have to like, all right, this is where I am, this is where you are, and
Right.
what does this look like for the next steps? And I think, I mean, we've been married almost 12 years.
Mhm.
So like, I'm not gonna say we got it down to an art, but we both know that we've got to talk this out. Because when opportunities arise and you're afraid to talk about it because you know that it's going to create a necessary conversation that may be kind of uncomfortable.
Right.
And then for me as a woman in 2025, like I want my career and my dreams to matter.
Right,
I'm a
yes.
working mom, and I think that I have the same opportunities he does. And I'm in the kind of the mindset that no one's going to hold me back. But I definitely wouldn't want to be the person to hold him back either.
Right. Right.
It's like
Yeah.
it's reciprocal.
No,
That
yeah,
makes sense. That was a lot.
Yeah, then it like plays into him being a working parent. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like there's both things that we got to accommodate here and like work together to make happen.
Right.
So I think that makes total sense. For us, we're in a very, I think is kind of a similar situation in terms of we work in the same office, but I feel like, and so like feels weird to speak on it when you're right there and you're like hosting and
Yeah. Still here.
like conversation. But we have different goals. We have different ideas of what our career will look like. It's like I just did a mock board, and then like the person like after their critique was like, you're very blue, and he was like try and like be more like realistic, and I was like, but the Air Force, like what? So I want to do the 20, and it took me a while to get to that point, but I want to do the 20, and I'm like definitely going to do it. It's happening. And I want to do it to like the highest rank I can get to in the enlisted side. Maybe OTS in a year or two. I'm going to try it out in these last couple of rounds, see what happens, but I'm okay with either or. We're doing it,
Mm.
And with Brendan, Sergeant
Yeah.
Miller, he's very much like along for the ride. Like success is cool and like should come to him because you're working hard, you're doing the work. But if it doesn't, I don't think like you're like as God, why me? Like you're more like, okay, yeah, okay, that's how it is. So we're on this weird flip page now where I've been in 10 years, he's been in 10 and a half, and is he gonna separate? And it's like that's what's crazy is like in a few years he could separate and be home with the kids.
Good.
They're
And
going,
Is that
going
breaking
to
news?
school.
Did we know that he was thinking about
No, but
separating?
it's so weird because we're on that flip side of
Yeah.
like, do you separate? See, this is where the middle
Yeah.
and because you're so close.
You
So
can't
close, but
separate
it-
after
it-
10 years.
but it's like 10 years, and like the Air Force was never, still is not my end goal. Like this could be like, do you do the 20 or not? But
that is 20-year retirement.
yeah, I just think if you have goals and you want to support your spouse, if your goal isn't the military and your spouse has a military goal of like, I want to do the career, I'm comfortable with stepping back and making that happen for her because I have goals that are harder for me to accomplish if I was in.
Mhm.
And you need to be realistic with yourself. You need to understand what it is that you want, what's good for our marriage, what's good for our kids, what's good for our careers. Then you can do everything else.
Yeah.
Right.
I like how you put that.
I appreciate you coming to chat with us about this. Otherwise, this would just be
My office is like literally next door, so I just walked a few feet. But
I just walked upstairs.
that's also true. Yeah, and we did this without an airman, but the airman just wasn't. He had a medical emergency, and we just wanted to continue the conversation. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. We
Thanks for having me.
of course this is one of the important conversations that folks need to have. If you are in a mill-to-mill marriage, go over these types of topics. There's a bunch of other stuff that we could have talked about that you probably do need to discuss with your spouse. So just make sure that you're taking care of each other, communicate, and hopefully we catch you in the next one.